Good afternoon and welcome to Midcap Radar. I'm Vivek Iyer and today with me is Reema Tendulkar. Good afternoon, Reema. It's a range-bound market and the only sector, the only segment of the market that's doing quite well is actually the small cap space, outperforming all of the benchmark indexes that you can see on the top of your screen are trading with cuts.
But even on the Nifty, there has been a recovery. In fact, a recovery of nearly 100 points. The day's low today was 25,083. So as we speak, in the red still, but there has been a pickup. But let's get you through the top headlines at 1:30. Stocks see broad-based selling on Dalal Street with declines far outnumbering advances. A sell-off in U.S. equities overnight following a weak manufacturing print and a sharp slide in Nvidia hurt sentiment. Metals and IT lead the decline.
Federal Bank under pressure today as Morgan Stanley downgrades the stock to an underweight rating from equal weight earlier. The brokerage says it's time to get selective on the banking pack.
The government has launched an offer for sale to divest up to 6.78% equity in GIC-RE with a floor price of 395 rupees per share. The stock slips in trade.
CESE gets tariff orders from the West Bengal Regulatory Commission for FY24 to FY26, which indicates no change in tariff for FY25 versus the last two financial years. Stock is under pressure in trade today.
HD Kumaraswami addresses industry concerns on China steel imports. Speaking at ISA Steel Conclave, the steel minister pledged to push for higher tariffs on Chinese steel imports to protect the Indian market.
Well, welcome to Midcap Radar. The only segment of the market that's seen a bit of recovery and trading in the green is actually the small cap index. The advanced decline ratio in the broader end of the markets continues to remain quite positive. Some segments of the markets that are doing quite well today is actually the pharma pack. So if you look at names like Biocon, if you look at names like Zydus Life Sciences, you look at names like Alchem Labs, these are some of the stocks that are doing quite well in the session. But this is our special segment, Midcap Movers. Vamakshi today is standing at the wall to take us through the midcaps that are moving around in the session. Vamakshi.
Well, absolutely, Vivek. It's red across the screen, but it is the broader end of the market that is actually performing relatively better as compared to some of the benchmark indices. Let's first look at some of the top losers today. Godfrey Phillips, sources say the company has signed term sheet for sale of retail business 24/7 to new shop. Resultantly, we're seeing a sharp fall in the stock, down nearly 3.5%. There's also declines in RBL Bank, Fortis Healthcare as well as Oil India. All of these counters are down somewhere around 3%. Apart from that, on the other hand, we have some of the stocks that are actually bucking the trend. They're gaining in the trading session today. We have Jubilant Ingravia. There's a huge uptick in this counter, up nearly 8.78%. Piramal Pharma is another mover in the trading session today, up nearly 9%. BEML and Jai Balaji Industries are also gaining somewhere around 5% in the trading session today. We also have defense stocks in focus. They were in focus yesterday and continue to be in focus today after the DSC approved 10 capital acquisition proposals worth 1.45 lakh crore. We're seeing gains continue on Mazgaon Dock, up nearly 6%. All the others are also buzzing in the trading session today. But apart from that, paint stocks are also up and away. We saw crude oil prices fall, and crude oil derivatives are actually the key inputs for paint production, and resultantly all of these paint counters are up in trade today. As you can see, they're up anywhere between 1.5% to 5%. Apart from that, there are some stocks that are moving on the back of strong volumes. We are seeing a notable decline in GIC-RE after the government is looking to divest some stake via OFS. Indian Bank is another counter that is declining in trade today. But on the flip side, given good volumes as well as an uptick in the stock, we're also seeing Kajaria Ceramics in focus. The stock is trading higher in the trading session today, and Prism Johnson is another counter that is gaining on the back of strong volumes.
Thank you very much for that. Lots of other big movers. So NIIT Limited is locked in an upper circuit of close to about 10%. The stock has seen a big surge. It was just about 100, 110 before the buying began by investors, and even the promoter upped their stake. And from levels of 110, it's moved up to 190 in a span of less than 1 minute. GMR Power, a stock where I think BNK initiated coverage yesterday, and their target price was higher at 184. So GMR Power continues to see buying another 5% upper circuit. Ruchit Jain of 5paisa.com is now with us for a technical check on the markets. Ruchit, afternoon, a bit of a weak trading session, but not too bad. And there has been that intraday recovery. How would you play the markets now?
Hi, very good afternoon, Rima. Very good afternoon to everyone. Whenever we see such gap down openings based on global cues, so I think more than that gap up or gap down, what is more important is how is the follow-up move. And what we have seen today, post that gap down opening, we have not seen any kind of follow-up selling pressure coming in. In fact, the small cap index has made a new all-time high again, which clearly indicates a good buying interest in this corrections which we are witnessing. So I think the price-wise correction seems to be very limited from here on for our markets. In case if the global markets correct further, we may slip through some time-wise corrective phase where 25,000, 24,950 would act as a support and 25,300 would be the resistance. But within this time-wise correction also, the broader markets are doing well. So this clearly indicates a good stock-specific action shall continue. So downside seems to be very limited. Any corrections towards that 25,000, I think, should be a good buying opportunity for the index. And for now, it's good to focus on stock-specific moves where outperformance is there.
Ruchit, good afternoon. So you mentioned it's going to be a stock-specific market. So which are the stocks that you are focusing on?
Yeah, very good afternoon, Vivek. A couple of recommendations from the mid-cap space on the long side. First would be a buy call in the Alembic Pharma. Well, the entire pharma space has been doing good. Alembic Pharma, if you look at the price volume action, recently the stock witnessed very good volumes along with the price up move. In corrections, the 100 DMA is acting as a good support. So post the recent correction, I think the risk-reward ratio is good to create some contra longs over here. So short-term traders can go long with stock below 1,030 for potential targets around 1,200. And Geo Finance would be my second pick, where after a correction day before yesterday, we witnessed a breakout from a falling trendline resistance with improving volumes. So I think here also the most of the corrective phase is behind us now. So I think we should see a gradual slow and gradual up move in Geo Finance as well. Keeping stock below 334, one can create fresh longs for potential targets around 370.
Okay, thank you very much, Ruchit, for joining in. We'll slip into a very short break. We'll come back with more on the market. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Minister of Heavy Industries, H.D. Kumaraswami, speaking at an event today, addressed the industry concerns on China's steel imports and his pledge to push for higher tariffs on Chinese steel imports to protect the Indian market. Listen in.
I can understand. I will promise you that the problem which you are facing from the China, for that actually I try to convince our Prime Minister and Finance Ministry to look after about the from 7.5% tax to 10 to 12% your demand is there. For that, definitely I will going to try to convince and to bail out the present problem which our steel industry facing in India. For that actually I will be with you. I am very grateful to you for your achievement and the contribution given to the country from your industry. I urge all of you to bring your minds and expertise together so that as one united Indian steel industry, we can forge a path forward.
Well, some important comments coming in there. But on the sidelines of the ISA Steel Conclave, my colleague Shivani Bazal spoke with Gindel Steel Chairman Naveen Gindel and started by asking about how China's dumping is hurting the Indian steel industry and how big this issue is for the Indian steel industry.
Not only China, I would say China, Korea, Vietnam, and a couple other countries. The imports have risen anywhere from 50% to even 80% compared to last year. So obviously they want to protect their domestic market, and whatever extra production they have, they want to dump it in India. And with some of these countries we have FTAs also. So they have not really respected the spirit of FTAs, and they have been dumping steel into India. And it is causing grave injury to the Indian steel producers. Because when people produce steel in India, the Indian manufacturers, So Indian steel producers are the ones who are giving employment to millions of people. We are the ones who are giving income tax. We are the ones who are cross-subsidizing transport, if it's railway freight. We are the ones who are cross-subsidizing electricity tariffs. Okay, we are the ones who are giving highest royalty and taxes on all the minerals. Okay, we are the ones who are paying more than 100% premium on coal, on iron ore, on so many minerals. So it's very important to protect the domestic industry. And India is a very competitive, steel industry in India is very, very competitive. There are more than 1,000 producers of steel and hundreds of large producers of steel, and it's all distributed all over the country. And it's a fiercely competitive market. And prices of steel in India are lower than anywhere else in the world. Okay, so but when you say the imports are coming in at lower prices, it's just because those countries or those producers in different countries, to protect their domestic industry, they just export at very low prices, at predatory prices into India. Because India is a very large market. We are the most populous country in the world. So that's why we have written to the Finance Ministry, we have written to the Steel Ministry, and the Honorable Steel Minister has assured us that the government would be taking up steps. So we are very confident that government will take steps. I can assure you that Indian steel industry is very, very competitive. We are very, very efficient. We are efficient steel producers. Our steel plants are very modern. But still, we have to safeguard the Indian industry against these unhealthy imports.
So if anti-dumping laws were to be made and if taxation were to be increased, what is the how much is enough? What is your sense?
You see, again, it depends from country to country. But say if you take examples of USA, Canada, they have imposed suo moto 25% duty. Similarly, now Japan, can you imagine? Japan is also asking for protection, Japanese steel industry. So the situation is serious. We are very efficient steel producers, so we can challenge them. But then the steel industry in India, they must have some surpluses also to be able to invest in growth, to be able to decarbonize. Decarbonizing is very important for everyone. So we do need resources to be able to do that. So the health competition must be healthy. So we are only against the unhealthy competition that we are facing from some of these countries, and I'm confident that the Government of India is going to take the necessary steps.
So the minister spoke about raising it for 7.5 to anywhere between 10 to 12. Will that be okay for the steel industry?
That would not be enough, because these prices, see, if they were selling at, and we put say 12.5 or 15% duty on the price at which they're selling in the domestic markets, it would be fine. But the market they are losing more than $100 per ton when they are exporting, and which is being subsidized by their governments as per the information that we have. So that's an unhealthy prices. They are not realistic prices. Those are just prices for dumping of their material to protect their domestic industry. But it is hurting our industry, so we have to safeguard against that.
Okay, so last question, how do you see the steel demand across the country? Do you think monsoons have sort of dampened the mood? And what is the kind of outlook that you see?
Okay, so steel demand is only going to increase in the country because we have a huge population, right? 1.4 billion people. And our per capita steel consumption is only about 100 kg, whereas the world average is 230 kg per person per annum. So there is a huge potential of increasing our capacity, increasing the steel consumption, because we need to build a lot of infrastructure, we need to build a lot of homes for people, and government is very serious about all these things. And then we are to be a Viksit Bharat, a developed country by 2047. So for that, a lot of construction needs to happen, and steel is a very, very important ingredient in that.
Well, some very important commentary coming in from Naveen Gindel of JSPL. Most of the steel stocks today, have recovered slightly on the back of this particular protectionary measure that has come in. But despite that, most of them are trading well in the red. A couple of stocks to keep on your radar. Remember, yesterday towards market close, CNBC-TV18 had done a source-based story on two companies. One was Sudarshan Chemicals as well as Huback Colorants. Now, remember, the story indicated that Sudarshan Chemicals was actually going ahead and looking to acquire the assets globally of Hubag. And, we had reached out to both of the management. Sudarshan Chemicals did tell us that, there are times they are looking at strategic initiatives as well as inorganic expansion, but they did not offer any further comments on this particular development. But on the back of this particular story, if you look at Sudarshan Chemicals today, the stock is up almost 4.5%. And Hubag Colorants, the stock that could be an indirect beneficiary, given the fact that there could be an open offer that could come in. That particular stock today sulking a little bit, but that stock has done quite well in the last 5 to 7 trading sessions. But let's now slip into a short break. We'll get you more on the markets and we'll focus on UPL, as the UPL board has granted an in-principle approval for exploring various options available for unlocking value in its seed business called as Advanta. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Talking about individual stocks, UPL is in focus as the board grants an in-principle approval for exploring various options available for unlocking value in Advanta. Vivek, you've been looking at this. What have you picked up?
Well, that's right. It's a very interesting development. As early as in April of 2024, we had reported that how UPL was looking to unlock value in its seed business. So Advanta is the seeds business of the company. We had told you about how the company had gone ahead and appointed investment bankers to look at various options for fundraising in this particular subsidiary. And along expected lines, we had told you that the company was looking at an IPO. Along expected lines, just about an hour ago, UPL has given notification to the exchanges saying that they have received an in-principle approval from the board for exploring various options available for unlocking value as far as the seeds platform is concerned, which is Vedanta. One of the options the company has is primary issuances of securities, mainly indicating that they could look to raise funds via the IPO route. The company may also consider private placements or public offerings. What is the rationale that the company has given as far as this particular fundraise is concerned? Remember, in FY23, the company had gone ahead and created a separate platform by transferring all of the seeds business to Advanta Enterprises. And one of the main objectives of that particular exercise was to unlock value for UPL shareholders at an appropriate time. Just to give a little bit of context as to what exactly we had reported in April 2024, we had said that the company had appointed bankers, BofA Securities, Morgan Stanley and JM Financial were the bankers. We had also indicated that there could be looking at a valuation of a little over $4 billion for the entire seeds business, and the company would look to divest close to a 20% stake. The main reason for this particular value unlock or the IPO would be the fact that the company is looking to significantly delever its balance sheet. Remember, UPL already is looking at a rights issue, and at the same time, this particular IPO should also help the company go ahead and significantly delever its balance sheet. Should be looked at quite positively as far as UPL is concerned.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, JBM Auto tells CNBC-TV18 that they expect FAME 3 scheme to be holistic in nature, and the government is aiming at 1.5 to 2 buses per 1,000 people. My colleague Danish Anand caught up with Nishant Arya, Vice Chairman and MD of JBM Auto, and spoke to him about the FAME 3 scheme and the India EV sector outlook. Listen in.
I think the policy would be quite holistic in nature. Even in the last FAME 2, 40% plus allocation in the FAME 2 budget was given to buses, because the buses cater to the common man, and about 90% of the country uses this at least once a day as public transport. So definitely they are addressing a large population, and as a country we are not only looking at replacement but also augmentation. Today we are less than 1 bus per 1,000. Target is to go to 1.5 to 2 buses per 1,000, and which would not be premium but the emerging market average. So therefore it becomes imperative for the industry to grow, and the new plan of the government, which was launched some time back for 8 lakh buses and could go up to 1 million buses over a period of time, and coupled with the PM e-bus Seva focus, the FAME focus, and different state policies which come up, and private sector companies which are focused on SDG and ESG goals are really looking at buses as a fast medium for decarbonizing their whole organization and meeting the sustainability targets.
Besides FAME, the government has several schemes to promote electric mobility, and the government is also expected to come out with another tender of thousands of buses. So where do you see an opportunity for your company in the new tenders that are supposed to come out?
No, so Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has done a fantastic job with the PME Bus Seva program, which is other than FAME, and I think it is coming with a global World Bank backing as well. So I think it will be instrumental in redefining the landscape of public transport tomorrow, and that will be instrumental, being a cornerstone for the industry to grow by multi-folds. And I think India would definitely become the EV capital of the world with this, and that would totally bring in a paradigm shift that we make in India, make for the world. But also along with that, we become a technology leader, having an ecosystem perspective where we talk about vehicle technology, battery technology, charging technology, coupled with power electronics, software, hardware and firmware.
Right. So as it is expected that a lot of new schemes are coming out for buses, and there could be more opportunities with various other ministries also floating several schemes. So as far as JBM is concerned, where do we stand right now on the order book, and do you plan to enhance your capex in order to cater to the sudden surge in demand?
So we are about 5,500 plus buses order book for all different applications in STUs or intercity buses, school buses, tarmac buses for Indian and global markets. We have a capacity of 20,000 electric buses, which is the largest in the world outside China. And definitely we are well poised to cater to the market in India and worldwide. And JBM is not a product player only now, so JBM Auto and JBM Electric Vehicles is positioned as an EV ecosystem player because we have a huge R&D center internally, and we develop all our technologies in-house and are totally independent of other organizations.
Right. So very lastly, we are just about to enter the festive season. So first of all, what are your expectations from the festive sales? And secondly, what is your outlook for the remaining financial year?
So we've just announced about a week back about 200 buses we are delivering in the festive season for intercity applications across different regions.
Well, important comments coming in from JBM Auto, but that's all the time we have on this edition of Midcap Radar. Your stocks when we return.